All right, welcome in to my house in the guest bedroom here on a rainy Saturday evening as Mississippi State just got a huge win over number 24 Alabama at the hump, 78-76. The Bulldogs pull off a big win. I think it was the fourth ranked win for Ben Howland since he's been at Mississippi State. Hard to believe he hasn't had any more luck against ranked teams, but this one was huge for Mississippi State to come into this ball game needing a big win like this to kind of build an NCAA tournament resume. And I think, it's been right there for the Bulldogs to win games like this. It's been right there for them for several years, especially last year. They had so many opportunities to win close games like this, or, in years past, big games, a game like Alabama coming into the hump or Kentucky coming in and having an opportunity down the stretch to win that ball game, and they just couldn't. Tonight was a perfect opportunity for Mississippi State to get that. They stayed in the ball game the entire way. They kind of wore down on Alabama, and down the stretch, they had plays there to push the ball game out. Alabama just kind of hung in it, and to Mississippi State's credit, for the first time that we've seen in a game like this against a top 25 team or against a team that is a really quality team. It was the first time, it feels like, in a long time that Mississippi State's been able to find a way down the stretch to win those ball games. And they did it tonight. Just a huge win for Mississippi State and their tournament resume. Quad one win against an Alabama team that has some big-time wins already this year. They beat Gonzaga already this season. They have 4 wins against quad one teams, I believe. So this was just huge for Mississippi State in a gutsy way too. State was 2 of 16 from 3, so they weren't out there just lighting up the scoreboard from long distance. This was a game that was really won on the free throw line for the Bulldogs down the stretch. Both teams were on the line a whole lot in this ball game, but Iverson Molinar again was just incredible. He's been so good the last couple of games. Had one of the best games of his career last ball game against Georgia. Comes out tonight, scores 24 points on 8 of 17, hits 7 of 8 from the line, 6 rebounds for the guard, just 3 turnovers, 4 assists as well. And this is against a really good team in that backcourt. Shackelford had 17, but he had 15 or 14 points, I think, in the first half. So they held him to 3 points in the second half. Quinterly had 5 points in the ball game, the point guard, and those two were the guys to watch in this game. And I thought State did an outstanding job defending them, especially in the second half. Now Quinterly was in foul trouble, I think, the good portion of the first half, but in the second half, State still put the clamps down on him. 1 of 5 shooting in the game, 3 of his 5 points coming off the line. State was so good in the second half, I thought, defensively. And this is a Bama team. They're not nearly as good as they were last year, and especially not nearly as good shooting the ball as they were a season ago. But this is still a team that can light you up under Nate Oates. 8 of 29 shooting from 3 today, just 28%. And that offset Mississippi State's three-point shooting struggles that they had, because against a team like Alabama, if they're hitting 12 to 14 three-pointers, you better be hitting some too. And Mississippi State was not hitting those threes. So that was big for State to kind of stay in the ball game. It was never a game that was out of reach for either team. Just looking at the largest lead, State had an 8-point lead in the game. Bama's largest lead was 5, and that was in the first, I think, 3 minutes of the ball game. When Alabama was able to get out to a pretty good start, they were up 11-6. So State made sure that they never got in a big hole in this game. And I thought that was huge. Alabama's a team that can score points in bunches, and they just never were able to do it tonight. So State really defended well. I thought the second half was significantly better for Mississippi State. I'd like to look at the comparisons between the first and the second half, because I just thought that in the first half, State was not doing a good enough job rebounding. State had 16 rebounds in the first half, and Alabama had 19. So Alabama had the edge, but 9 offensive boards for Bama in that first half. The State's 6. They were getting second chance points and Mississippi State was allowing them opportunity after opportunity to score on that end of the floor. They were missing those three balls long, and that played into it too. They were missing the three-pointer long and getting those long rebounds. And in the second half, I thought Mississippi State kind of changed things. 4 offensive rebounds in the second half for Alabama. That was huge. 12 for Mississippi State. State kind of flipped the script there. They doubled up their production on the offensive boards while limiting Alabama to, four rebounds on the offensive end. That was huge. And had let's see what they had in the second half. Wow, 27 to 13 advantage on rebounds in the second half for Mississippi State. I mean, that is just effort. That's just wanting it more, and that's why they won the ball game. They outscored Bama by 6 points in the second half, and the effort, I thought, was the key. 43 to 32 on the rebounds, and you had Tolu Smith back, but he didn't play as big a factor as he could have because he was in foul trouble. 6 points, 4 rebounds in 20 minutes. I didn't expect him to have just a monumental ball game because he's been out for a couple of weeks now, or about a week and a half. And the conditioning part was something that I thought was going to be a big deal. And he just couldn't stay out of foul trouble. He had 3 fouls in the first half, came in and played maybe 7 or 8 minutes in the second half, and just couldn't stay out of foul trouble. But that was offset by Gurley from Alabama being in foul trouble as well. So that was huge. That was a huge moment of the ball game when Gurley couldn't stay out of foul trouble either. So that kind of offset the two bigs there, and I thought State really kind of won the ball game with what they were able to do defensively against the guards in the second half, and also the offensive rebounds. That was just huge. Anderson Garcia continues to play so well off the bench. 8 points, 7 rebounds off the bench in 24 minutes. He might be State's most valuable bench player right now, and he's one of State's most valuable players just because of what he does within his role. He comes in the ball game, he's going to give you great effort every single time. You don't ever have to worry about his effort. You don't ever have to worry about his defensive intensity. The free throws hurt State a little bit down the stretch, but not enough to lose the ball game. He got fouled late and with 3 seconds left. He missed one of those free throws, and Alabama had a chance to win the ball game with a three-pointer. A lot of people were, I'm sure, scared during those final 2 seconds. But Garcia, I thought, was outstanding. Garrison Brooks with a double-double. This was one of his better games, 16 points, 10 rebounds, and he played 33 minutes. Second most minutes on the team tonight outside of Iverson Molinar. And the free throws were huge. I mean, Shaq Moore, 9 of 9 from the line, 15 points, just 3 of 10, but he got his money's worth when he went to the line, and he wasn't scared to get in the paint and mix it up with those guys. And he was big in getting Alabama in foul trouble. But the free throws were huge because this referee crew was calling the game really tight. I didn't think they were bad. I thought they were fine. They just decided beforehand, we're going to call this game tight. I didn't think that a lot of those fouls were, egregiously missed or anything like that. I just think that they were calling contact a lot in this ball game, and that's fine. And you have to adjust to that. If you see that early in the first half, as a team, you've got to adjust to it. And neither team really adjusted to it that much. They kind of stayed in foul trouble throughout the game. 26 fouls for Bama, 21 for State. They were in the double bonus, both teams in each half. State might have been at 9 fouls maybe in the second half. I can't exactly remember, but still just a lot of fouls in this game. But State took advantage of it. 28 to 38, 74%. I think you'll take that. But Bama was really good, 24 for 28 from the free throw line. That was huge for them because their offense wasn't great in this ball game. They shot 39%. That's okay, but 28% from 3. Turned the ball over 15 times. They got out-rebounded by 11. So I think that's a huge development for Mississippi State to be able to go to the line and make teams pay. And I thought they did that in this game. Even though they missed 10 free throws, when you shoot 38, you'll take that. 74%, that's pretty good. And your 2 guards out front shot 9 of 9 and 7 of 8. Iverson Molinar and Shaq Moore. I mean, that's that's pretty darn good. 4 of 6 for Garrison Brooks. So just a huge win for Mississippi State. I can't overstate that because I think Alabama is going to be really good. They're on a 3-game losing streak, but they lost a great ball game to Auburn the other night, who's probably going to be the number 1 team in the country when it's all said and done. They are, I believe they are right now. That team is going to be the number 1 overall seed. Actually, I don't. Is Baylor number 1? Now I need to go check. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters because I think this week Auburn will be number 1 overall. Baylor's still number 1. Auburn is number 4 right now, but I think Auburn's the best team in the country as it stands right now. I've been really impressed with them. Gonzaga 2, UCLA 3. State's got a lot of big games coming up. Looking at this top 25, Tennessee's a top 25 team, which they're probably going to fall out this week. They got destroyed by Kentucky today. Kentucky's moving up fast, 13-3 now, and that's a team that is starting to find itself. A lot of great young talent on that team. They're getting close to being a top 15 team. LSU lost today, but they're still a top 15 team. So State has several games against top 25 teams coming up. And not only top 25 teams, but there's 8 or 9 teams that are ranked inside the top 50 of the net right now. State's kind of maintained at that spot. They've been inside the top 50, and that's a really good spot to be because you're going to continue to climb. There's not going to be, if Mississippi State's winning ball games, they're going to continue to climb, and you're going to be safely in the NCAA tournament when you're doing that. And you're looking at the schedule here, and man, what a brutal stretch over the next 2 weeks. You go to Florida on Wednesday, and Florida is a team right now that's not playing very well, but still a solid team, 1-3 in SEC play. But that's a ball game. I really feel like they need to go win that game. I feel like you need to go on the road, win that ball game in Gainesville, and get yourself to 4-1 in the league. You're feeling really good about yourself at that point. You come back to Starkville on Saturday and play a huge game against Ole Miss, a game you have to win. One of the few games that you're going to play here the rest of this season that's going to be, if you lose, a really bad loss. I mean, look at Missouri. I think you play them twice. You don't need to lose those games. You don't need to lose to Missouri. You don't need to lose to South Carolina, who you play twice, and you need to beat Ole Miss 1 out of 2. You win those games, and then you find 3 or 4 more wins somewhere else, and you're really in great position. You got to go to Alabama. You bring in Tennessee to the hump. You got to go. This is just such a brutal stretch coming up here. So Florida and Ole Miss coming up next week. Those are 2 potential wins. You win those ball games, you're sitting at 5-1 in the league, which right now State is top 4 in the league. They're 4th right now in the SEC. Sitting at 5-1, you're most certainly top 4 in the league. You have a chance with a loss by a couple of teams there to move up, and that's a good spot to be sitting with 6 games gone in the league, and you have a really tough schedule coming up. Then you got Kentucky and Lexington next Tuesday on Super Tuesday on ESPN. Then you go to the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and you get a Texas Tech team who's been really hot the last few weeks. Now, they lost today, but that's going to be a really, really difficult game for Mississippi State. So Kentucky and Texas Tech back-to-back on the road before you come back to the hump and play South Carolina to start in February. But, just looking at it, you win at Florida and Ole Miss, and say they lose to Kentucky. You go to Fayetteville at 6-2 in SEC play in the first 8 games. I mean, you'll take that all day. You've got a couple of quality wins there. You don't have very many quality or bad losses, but you still got LSU and Baton Rouge. You got Tennessee at home. You got to go to Bama. You got Auburn at home, which is big. Texas A&M is playing really well. That's where you close the season in College Station. So there's opportunity here for Mississippi State, and that's the word I'm using here, opportunity to really make a move. Because right now, they're on the borderline. Some people have them just out. Some people have them in. I think Joe Lunardi still has Mississippi State in. And Lunardi's a guy that nails it every single year, so that's the guy you need to be following throughout this process. But still such a long season. It's such a grind. But it's games like today for Mississippi State that show you what this team is capable of. And like I said, I know that Alabama has lost 3 straight games, but this is a very good Alabama team, a team that I think is going to be really good down the stretch of the season. I think they're going to continue to get better. And they've proven this year to be a really good team and beat some great teams. So we know this is a quality win, and nobody should tell you otherwise. This is a big win for Mississippi State. But you see games like this, you see the depth that really took its toll on Nate Oates' team. I thought the depth of Mississippi State really showed up tonight, and I thought it showed up against Arkansas. Arkansas is playing much better, by the way. You got a huge win at LSU, so that's going to turn out probably to be a big win down the stretch, maybe even a quad 1 win for Mississippi State. So this team is capable of doing big things. I've always felt like at some point, things are going to start clicking for this team. There's too much talent. There's too much depth. And you just got to think now, if Tolu Smith is healthy and he starts to get back acclimated, that this team can really make some noise in this conference, which has turned into a very good conference. It used to be a very poor conference, but when you start making coaching hires that the conference has made, like Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates and Will Wade, and Rick Barnes and guys like this that have come into this league now, you start making these hires and they start elevating these programs. Now you're starting to see the depth of the league start to grow. Missouri was down the dumps and they beat Alabama a couple of weeks ago. I feel like anybody is capable of beating just about anybody in this league on any given night. So Mississippi State's got to be on top of their game, and they've got to finish here this season, and we'll see if that happens. But for tonight, big win for State. And listen, I mean, people have been down on State. I've been down on them. I was down on them last week. But this is a team that's outside of that Ole Miss game. This is a team that has been playing its best basketball. The Ole Miss game was what it was. They came out and they played horribly in that game. But, they're 3-1 in the SEC now, and they've won, I think, 6 out of 7. Let's see, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 out of 7 games. You don't lay an egg in that Ole Miss game. You've won 7 straight, and you're probably pushing for a top 25 spot right now. But you've got to avenge that game next week. And I think next week is so big for Mississippi State because you know that Kentucky game is looming. You've got to pick up some momentum. Go to Florida, win that ball game, and watch the crowd start to come to the hump. I really believe if State wins this ball game next Wednesday, that the hump is going to be electric again on Saturday at 3 p.m. for Ole Miss. I think that fans are close. I know that people are frustrated. I know they're tired of the same old, but this team is good enough to be a really good team this year. And I feel like the extra boost is probably going to be this fan base just getting behind them finally. They haven't been able to do that since Rick Stansbury left. If this fan base finally gets around this team, rallies around them, and gives them something to really push forward, which I guess it works both ways. I mean, it works for the team too. They've got to give the fans something to watch. But if that happens, I feel like this team can really make a run this season. I thought from the beginning that this team could have some bumps in the road early on in the season, but middle of the season, late in the regular season, they should be playing their best basketball. They should be a cohesive unit. They should have everybody healthy. They should have everybody ready to roll. And with Iverson Molinar, doing what he's doing, and now having several pieces around him that can do some big things as well, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team if they're hitting their full potential. I mean, how many times last year did it have to be Iverson Molinar and DJ Stewart scoring 20-plus points, maybe each, for them to have a chance? Tonight you have Shaquille Moore, 15 points, Garrison Brooks, 16, and Tolu Smith didn't have to be great in this ball game to beat a top 25 team. I think that's huge. But you look at the depth of this team. I mean, this team has all of the ingredients. Now they just have to go get it. And I think you win a couple of games here, and people are really going to start getting on board for the Bulldogs moving down the stretch. So yeah, I mean, big week coming up for state, but this was a good start. This is a tough stretch for the Bulldogs. I look at the stretch, and if you go 3-2, that's incredible. In this 5-game stretch, if you go 2-3, that's not the end of the world, but you really need to win 3 of the 5 games probably over the next week or so. So, all right, we got full coverage. Paul Jones will have coverage. I think Steve Robertson was at the game as well. So go check that out over our website. That's Mississippistate.247sports.com for those at home watching. So go check out our coverage from that. Paul covers this team day by day. He does as good a job as anybody on this entire beat covering Mississippi State basketball. And I think got a little extra coverage today with Steve there as well. I'll have coverage tomorrow. Mississippi State playing Ole Miss on the road in women's basketball. The Bulldogs have a 14-game winning streak against Ole Miss, but this is going to be a tough one. I'm told Rakia Jackson is going to be back for the Bulldogs. They should have most of their roster back. They're waiting to hear back on a test for Ashley Jones. If she's back, they will have, I think, 9 available players. They had 5 in the middle of the week, and they had to postpone the Kentucky game, so adding 4 more players to the mix this week is huge. And also, I'm hearing that Doug Novak will be available as well. So State's going to be about as back to full strength in women's basketball as they have been this season, and they're on a bit of a roll even with a short roster. So this is a big game for State. Ole Miss probably going to be favored in this game. I think they've won 13 out of 14 ball games, 14 out of 15, something like that, and are playing some really good basketball. They've got a good team. This is their best chance to beat Mississippi State in the last 6 or 7 years. So big game coming up at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I have full coverage of that. And we've got some great stuff going on over at 247. Of course, we've had 3 commitments this week from the transfer portal. Got a big one today from Justin Robinson, a wide receiver from Georgia. We've had some of his thoughts and breakdown of kind of what he adds to the roster for the Bulldogs. We've got recruiting. It never stops on our site. So go check us out. If you don't subscribe, go check us out. Give us a little bit of a chance to show you just what we provide over there at 247 Sports. And if you haven't, subscribe to this channel. Go subscribe right now while you're watching, and you'll have updates of any time that I do these post-game reactions. We have Talking Dogs where we discuss the whatever's going on in Mississippi State sports. A lot of times we do live chats. We'll try to get that back going. Post-game press conferences, previews, things like that. That's all on this channel, and you'll get notified every time that I post those videos. So subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, too. We really appreciate you for watching this and giving it a little bit of a look. Add your comments if you want to, and we'll try to discuss some more basketball next week. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all you guys' support of our website and everything that we do as well over at 247 Sports. Hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend, and we will see you around.